Welcome back to Simple Truth. I've said welcome back so many times today that I'm losing track of which show I'm on and what we're doing. We have done a ton of teaching down here at Garage Ministries today. Super excited. Holy Spirit's working and no different on this Simple Truth. I want to go to 1 Samuel chapter 17, even though my Bible wants to keep turning already to 18, which I love. Can't wait to get there. We're going through the story of David and pulling out some truths about David. We left off at verse 27. I want to pick up in verse 28. Got lots to say about this, so let's get started. Now, Eliab, his eldest brother, heard when he spoke to the men. And his anger was kindled against David. And he said, "Why have you come down? And with whom have you left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know your presumption and the evil of your heart, for you have come down to see the battle." Do you understand, this verse? There is a ton of power in this verse. You understand that the Bible tells us that words, right, have the ability, the tongue has the ability to give life and to give death, right? This is words with the entire intention of giving death, putting David in his spot right away. Do you know the enemy loves to do this? He loves to stop the momentum of God on the front side, right? You will get a calling. God will say to you, "Hey, I want you to do this." And immediately the enemy will put somebody in your path to speak death into your life. I see it every single day. I see every day how the enemy uses people to try to speak death into other people. It's whether or not you're going to take it or not. I watched it this morning where somebody just made a little snide comment, right, about somebody else having a power grab or letting power go to their head, and immediately recognized what it was. Immediately recognizing that is a thought that the enemy wants to plant to ruin your day, to keep your day, so that you're going to spend the rest of your day thinking, is that me? Is that me? Am I just want power? Am I letting authority go to my head? Am I letting all these things, right? The person who's saying it will do it in a joking manner, right? So that they're like, ah, ha, 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 right? But that doesn't mean it's how the person hearing it took it. And the enemy knows that. He's constantly wanting us to joke in such a way that it hurts other people. Notice, isn't it funny, the amount of times that people say something in a manner that they would never want said to themselves, or they get upset. So they get upset because they presume that somebody is attacking them. So what do? They don't like it, so the natural tendency is, well, let me attack you back. Now, just stop there for a second. If you get offended by what somebody said to you, why would it be okay for you to answer back in the same way? You didn't want to be treated that way, so your natural tendency is to treat somebody the same way that you didn't want to be treated. That doesn't make sense, right? That doesn't make sense humanly, and it certainly doesn't make sense in a godly economy, right? So again, we're looking at this moment. David is about ready to do something amazing, godly. And don't think that the enemy doesn't know when God is about ready to use you. Listen, sometimes the enemy is taken by surprise, but far less than you and I would ever think. He knows what's going on. He knows God better than you and I do. And he knows how God likes to work. And so he knows when God's about ready to do something. And so what does he do? He hears, because he's inside churches, he hears when people are prophesied over. He hears when a word of knowledge is said. He hears when somebody walks up and says something about somebody, gives them a compliment, tells them something godly in nature. He hears all of that stuff. So isn't it funny? Immediately, he will counteract that with something ugly. And you and I both know that it's the ugly stuff that tends to stick. We hear that repeated in our head over and over and over. It doesn't matter what our current boss is doing. It matters what our past boss did. Because here's what's going to happen. Our current boss, he's walking back oblivious to our past, oblivious to what's happened in our life. He wasn't there. He doesn't know anything. And he will say something, a phrase, a word that triggers us. And all we hear is what? our old boss. We hear our old boss, and then immediately all the fears, all the things. Now we begin to picture our new boss as our old boss. Works the same way in relationships. Works the same way with God. It can flip, right? We've only heard this from human people. So God says, hey, I've got something for you, or I got something I need you to learn. And that triggers this, oh, they're going to tell me bad things and they're going to get me. It's amazing how this whole thing works. So David shows up on the scene. He asks a simple, good question that everybody, like, hey, what's going to be done for the person that does this for the king, right? And the men answer, and notice a person that should know him well, probably does know him well, may even have known his past, right? I'm not arguing whether there's any truth in what his older brother is saying or not. There might be a bit of truth, right? But what his brother says is so calculated. I know you. I know your intent, and it isn't good. How many times has somebody said something like that to you and it stopped you dead in your tracks? Right? You wanted to sign up to teach Sunday school and somebody goes, I know you. You can't do that. Right? You wanted to help somebody out and somebody says, I know your intent there. You just want to get something for you. Right? How many times are people questioning your intent? They're presuming to know you and know what God is doing in your heart. What does that do when they do that? It gets us questioning ourselves. Why am I doing this? Why do I want to help somebody else out? Why do I want to give money towards this charity? Why? And God says, I'm not interested in the whys. I'm interested in the who. Right? God, at this exact moment, nobody focuses on this verse. Really? Nobody's going to talk about it because we go on to the rest of the story. But you know that the rest of the story hinges on this verse. Right? How David responds to this moment. He's been accused of leaving his position where he should have been. We know that's not true because we heard his father say, go check on your brothers. But in that moment, David could have heard, yeah, you're right, I left my sheep. Oh, I'm not taking care of that little bit that was given for me to take care of. His brother accuses him of leaving his post, right? But then also coming here with the intent to get glory for himself, right? You have an evil heart. You're just coming down to see this battle, right? You want to come down and see people die. You want to come down and see people get destroyed. Is that what people are saying about you? You got evil intent in your heart. Right? The enemy wants to stop this before it gets going. Right? Listen, that's only one verse. Got lots to say. We need to look at David's response to this whole thing because, again, this whole David and Goliath thing hinges on so many little moments where David makes the right choice. Here's the right voice, right? So join me next time, Simple Truth, as we hear about David's response.